Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here with Jason Blaha Strength and Fitness. Today I want to chat with you guys and gals about the fact that no one is really born with discipline. But a quick reminder, if you guys will please click like down below, be greatly appreciated. If you're not following or subscribe, please do so. And if you'll be kind enough to drop me a comment down below, I'd appreciate it so much. Thank you. So when we come to this topic, I think people need to understand, they see people who are disciplined. I had a lot of followers who say that. They're like, wow, you're like super hardcore. You don't miss workouts. You've been doing this for like 13 years on camera. You know, you're almost 50 years old. You just keep crushing it. You do your thing. And a lot of your training is really hardcore. But it's really not to me. You know, that's the thing. I just don't see it as that big of a deal with what I do. You know, it's just discipline just became part of my life. And I wasn't always that way. I mean, we need to be clear. I used to be over 300 pounds 25 years ago. Like, I was really legitimately morbidly obese, lived on junk food, didn't work out, you know, and I made the choice to get into shape. But then it became what you guys see, you know, this is many years later. You know, it's just become my way of life, and it's become my normal. And I think people need to understand how discipline gets developed. It's not, it really isn't the hardcore thing that people make it out to be. I mean, I do stuff like, yeah, I'm going to go take up barefoot running now. Like, just give me squatting 500 pounds barefoot here, no sleeves. Yeah, I'm going to go run, 5 miles every morning barefoot. But the thing is, it's not about being hardcore. It's simply about developing habits and identifying with them. So, again, we're not disciplined. No child has discipline. Why do you think they use the term disciplining a child, and teaching a child? It's something that we have to learn over time, and different types of discipline carries into our life. But it is about habits, and it's about understanding that we identify with our habits. I've talked about that before, of developing habits, small habits, they accumulate over time. And that's what creates discipline. But we need to understand that we identify with our habits. And it doesn't matter that it's a role. People say, oh, whatever identity you have, it's fake. It's all of its social constructs and stuff. And be that as it may, what we choose to identify with is important. Okay? Why? Because once something becomes part of our identity, oh man, that's really locked in. And I think that is when you take stuff to a completely different level. Okay. How about if you identify as someone who eats healthy? Okay, it's no longer about, hey, trying to moderate whatever. It's not about dealing with the horrible food environment. What happens when your habits get ingrained and you just stop eating junk and you just eat clean, healthy foods, and you do it for a while? And that's the other thing. Everyone creates these problems when they see it as a sacrifice instead of living. That's why people have problems with it, and they're like, oh, I couldn't do that, or I have to binge. It's like, well, no, because you're seeing it as giving something up. You're seeing it as a sacrifice instead of, hey, I'm a healthy person. I eat healthy food. I eat healthy foods. And then you look at junk food and say, I also identify as a person who, I don't identify as a person who eats junk, right? That's somebody else, right? That's other people are the ones who eat junk food. I don't identify with that at all. And when you accept that as your persona, not just persona, your identity, it starts becoming intrinsic to your identity, you simply eat healthy food. But that starts when you say, hey, I'm gonna eat healthy foods. This is what I'm gonna live on. This is my fuel. When you set the small habits of working more and more towards it. But once they become habits, remember, we start to identify with those habits. Okay? Right? When you start to identify with the habit, and it doesn't matter that it's in your head. Everything that we identify with is in our head. Doesn't make it any less of a powerful tool. But that creates discipline. Then people see it as discipline when you're just like, no, it's part of who I am. No longer even about other people will see it as discipline. You see where I'm about to go even with the training? Man, you like don't miss workouts. You like are so consistent year after year after year. You film all of it. You put it all up by date. We can go look at all of it's dated with dates in the workout. We can see what weight you used for 10 rep sets on bench press 4 years ago to the day. Right. Okay. Why? Because it's my habits. I have habits that I do my training. I have a set training schedule that I build around, and my habit became I train on my scheduled training days. Doesn't matter whether I'm training 3 days a week or 5 days or whatever it happens to be with the lifting. I have scheduled training days. I identify, it becomes part of my core identity, my core person. I am someone who works out. I am someone who makes their scheduled workouts. Okay? When your habits, you start to identify with your habits, it builds discipline to where it's not hard. It's like, let me explain again how that works. It's not hardcore. It's not really a big deal. Because it's just part of who we are. I'm a fit person. I'm an athlete. I'm a lifter. I lift weights. I do athletic stuff. I lift heavy weights. I squat and deadlift heavy. I bench press heavy. I do weighted pull-ups, right? This is part of who I am. We identify. When you learn to identify with your habits, this is when you develop a level of discipline that other people don't understand, because they're like, I don't see how you do that. How do you just stay so consistent? And it's like, because it's just part of my identity now. Right? That's like someone who sees themselves as a video, like you identify as a video gamer. You identify as a really serious video gamer. And you don't miss a scheduled video game with whatever your team or group. Okay, you understand now? Like you identify as a husband or a father. Okay? Is that going to change your everyday behavior when you identify with that? Because part of your identity, it becomes your normal. Okay? It no longer requires motivation. When you identify, say like as a guy listening, when you identify as being a father, and it becomes an important piece of your identity, do you need motivation to take care of your kids? Or to protect your kids or provide for your kids? No. You just do it. It's the same thing.